jazz chapter. So we have here today Earl Johnson. He's a very talented jazz musician. Instead of going through just normal back history facts, we thought we'd do it through the eyes of jazz and kind of go through the history of jazz and have some samples and a timeline and kind of do it that way. So I'll let Earl take over from here. Thank you.
So rule number 1, this is an interactive presentation. Rule number 2, nobody's allowed to be shy because I'm not shy. No such thing as a stupid question, no such thing as a stupid answer. There's a stupid host, but that's another thing. This is it's intended to be informative but fun. Okay, it's going to be a little pop quiz at the end. You might be able to win a prize or two. So that's a little bait on the hook so that y'all pay attention. Like she said, my name is Earl R. Johnson Jr. The professional umbrella that hangs over me is I'm a film composer and recording artist and touring musician, primarily under jazz, but I also do R&B, pop, etc., etc. You may know some of the people that I've worked with. I've been the keyboardist and featured soloist for Shaka Khan. Worked there for 2.5 years. Jeffrey Osborne, Brian McKnight, Wynton Marsalis, Gerald Albright, Najee, Kenny Lattimore, Patty Austin, Beyonce. I forget. It's like, man, I forgot those people. a lot of folks. But now I'm doing my own thing. But we'll talk about my projects a little later. I've been called in under a personal request 2 times to play for our wonderful president, Mr. Obama. That was pretty great. I did it once here in Los Angeles and again in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's a little small, but you can see, I show this. I keep it in the phone, It's one of those photos. It's like, sir, what would you like on your French fries? Hey, I played with Obama. No matter what it is, that I worked that into the conversation. And you guys would too, so don't laugh at me. Okay, the history of jazz really has its roots. Jazz is the only true American art form. It's the only art form, our gift to the world, that is uniquely American. Everything else has roots or influences that come from someplace else. But jazz is the one thing that has been identifiably American, okay, in terms of an art form. And it started off really, let's work our way backwards. So you have jazz, right? And there's styles that go after that, but we're going to start right there as our starting point. Before that, then you had blues, which also has 2. If we did I was going to do a family tree type of thing so you could see the lineage. But, I mean, you look like intelligent people. I see some intelligent faces out there. There's a lineage that follows the musical transgression that goes up into all the modern styles that we have today, which are, pop, R&B. Actually, interactive time. Name some styles of music that you guys like. R&B, that's a good one. Reggae. Mm-hmm. Grunge, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Any other ones? Classical, that's a good one. Yeah. Neo soul, yeah. No rock? I was like, man, no rock. Yeah, rock is great. Pop is cool. Okay, well, with the exception of classical, all of the styles that you named have some degree of influence from jazz. jazz/blues. Okay? And I'll prove that because I know some people are like, yeah, right. But I will prove that to you through examples. So like I said, jazz, which really had its strong point in the 40s, 50s, 60s, was really the heyday of what we know modern day as jazz. What most people think of when you say jazz, you think, Miles Davis, you think John Coltrane. Are any of these names familiar to you guys? Yeah. And then, of course, Duke Ellington. Some modern examples of that style of jazz can be found with Wynton Marsalis, who took all of, who Wynton is? He's a famous jazz trumpeter. The Marsalis family out of New Orleans. Ellis Marsalis was the father who played piano. Wynton plays trumpet. The oldest brother, Branford, plays saxophone. You might know him from Tonight Show fame. He was the band leader when Jay Leno first took over for Tonight Show. They hired Branford. But incidentally enough, Branford used to also be the touring saxophonist with Sting. So you see how once you learn jazz sensibilities, they can really be applied to all different facets of music. And that's the very unique and great quality of jazz, is that it can mutate. It's like tofu. You can put tofu in anything, and it's like, man, tofu tastes like peanut butter now. It tastes like chicken in this other dish. Jazz is kind of like that, So Branford was able to, switch over and play with Sting very, very well. That was a great band too. Like I said, Wynton took all of his influences from Duke Ellington. So if you listen to a lot of Duke Ellington records and arrangements that Duke did, along with Billy Strayhorn, another jazz arranger, you'll hear a lot of influences that'll sound like Wynton's music, and vice versa. Now, there's also, like I said, the connection between jazz and blues is intimately tied, okay? And within blues, because in order to really understand jazz, you have to start at its basic elements, which is blues. To really understand blues, you have to go back even more. Blues and gospel are really closely related. The only difference is lyrical content, a lot of times. Obviously, a more, sacred lyrical content would be the gospel, talking about salvation and, some form of deity, whereas blues has a more secular strain, usually talking about some sort of heartache or, somebody did you wrong, get a shotgun. No, never mind. Blues kind of goes there. But as far as the harmonic structure, it's the same. A lot of people, I don't know how many churchgoers we have here, but you have. Right. You hear that kind of movement a lot of times in gospel. Well, a lot of that is just blues. Now, quick music lesson. Within a scale, there's 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So, the blues form that all blues music follows. Okay, let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, the 5th note of the scale will always be that note. The 1st note will always be that note. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 will always be that note. So the musical form that blues follows, it's a 12-bar form. So there's 12 measures. Do you guys know what a measure is? Okay, basically the standard of musical time, 4 beats equals 1 measure. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1 measure. So there's 12 bars in this total form. it goes from the 1 for the first measure. Second measure goes to the 4 here, and then back to the 1 for measures 3 and 4. Measures 5 and 6 go back to the 4. Measures 7 and 8 go back to the 1. Okay. Measures 9 goes to 5. The next measure goes to 4. And then the last 2 bars go back to 1. That's a basic blues form. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4, 9, 2, 3, 4, 10, 2, 3, 4, 11, 2, 3, 4, 12, 2, 3. Okay, that's a blues form. That form has been used by not too many, maybe 6,000 or 7,000 artists. A lot of people that I'm sure you know and love. Let's see, John Mayer, Stevie Ray Vaughan, just the list goes on and on. Stevie Wonder, Alicia Keys, James Brown. I mean, I can go on and on. The number of artists that have used that basic blues form. And they changed the key because, you can put it here. 2, 3, that's too close. Let's put it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, blah, blah, using this scale. So it doesn't really matter what key you put it in. A lot of people will switch based on their vocal range, but the form stays the same. Okay. Now, how many people, by show of hands, like blues music? Okay, sure that's it? Okay. How many people like Alicia Keys? Okay. I see a couple different hands that went up. Did you realize that Alicia Keys has a lot of blues elements and jazz in her music? Her major breakout hit that started and really springboarded her career was a song called Falling, right? Do you guys remember that? I do not sound like Alicia Keys, so I'm not going to sing it. I forgot to wear my tight underwear, so I can't get up that high. But, right? Any volunteers? Anybody want to sing? Chickens. I told you guys shouldn't be shy. But that same form, do you know where did she write that or did she copy that? Did she hold out when copied it? Modified? Okay. The PC answer. Okay, modified. That's correct. What was the original song? This is one test moment. What was the original song that she borrowed from for that song? Very famous song by an extremely famous artist. No, not classical. James Brown. I see my hint worked. Yeah. This is a man's world. This is a man's world. Right? I don't sound like James either, except my sample. But it will be nothing. Right? Same exact chords, everything. Yeah. And we all know James has a lot of blues and jazz influence in his music. Okay? That's just one example. There's many. Speaking of Alicia as well, let me show you another one of hers that she borrowed. What was that song called? Unbreakable. Remember that one? I think she won a Grammy for that one. Remember that song? Unbreakable, right? What was the original from that? Another very famous group. That's your hint. Close, but no. Right era, but no. Temptations. Yep. Intimate Friends. Remember that song? Homework. Look it up on YouTube. Intimate Friends. Intimate Friends by the Temptations was the exact. As soon as you hear it, you go, wow, that should be illegal. You know. But yeah. So she borrowed from it, man. You know, Rod Temperton and all those guys who wrote all the stuff for the Temptations. You know, they had their roots in Detroit, which was part of that whole the northernmost part of the Central American Bible Belt. You know, so that's where you have a lot of blues and gospel intermingling influences in all of the music. You know. So that's just two examples. And then we all know of or heard of how hip-hop has sampled other music and brought other influences in. You know, those are the most obvious examples of how jazz and blues has carried on into modern music. But we don't really even have to speak about hip-hop. There's other, I like to talk about the other more lesser-known people who have borrowed, because it's one thing to take a recording, like a 6 or 12 second snippet of another recording, and then loop it, you know, and then say something over it or whatever. You know, that's called sampling, right? Well, a lot of recording artists, at the strong urging of the labels, will take a song that was a hit before, you know, because most record labels, they just want to make money. They want to have, you know, the hit. So what's the best way in their mind to create a hit is to borrow from another hit, you know, instead of relying on the artist's artistry and individuality. Whole other story. I'll come back another time to give you that one. But they have a sampling, but it's more of a live sampling where they take the influences, where they'll listen to, you know, a particular song like Alicia did, you know, and change the lyrics or change one element here or there, and then make a new song out of it. So that's a big way how the jazz influence has kind of permeated into modern styles. Then you have a lot of artists who borrow from what they think are old styles that nobody is going to really know, because they think that the consumer is stupid. You know, I'm not included in that group. I don't think you guys are stupid. But they borrow from old styles and try and reinvent it as if it's their own. Okay? One of the most famous or more famous people who've done this recently just cleaned up at the Grammys too. And my disclaimer is I do love this artist. I mean, I think she is phenomenal. You know, has a really gritty sound. I mean, I'm really glad that she was able to overcome some of her medical challenges. The artist Adele. Do you guys know who Adele is? Do you know her song "Rolling in the Deep"? Don't you think that sounds a little bit like Muddy Waters? You know, if you can see her sitting on a porch somewhere with a straw hat, you know, and you know, the guitar player, you know, or singing the intro of the Dave Chappelle show. Chappelle show. You know, that could be Adele up there, you know. But yeah, she had a lot of blues influences, you know. And I will say, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't really particularly have a problem with artists borrowing influences, because there's really no such thing as anything new being created. Things are just reinvented, you know. And you have that in classical music, whether it's the Baroque period or you know, all the different periods of classical and that lineage, you know. But every modern style of music that we listen to and love today has borrowed from some other style, you know. Let me see. most blues music, like I said, comes from gospel, which took its roots from work songs and the field songs that American slaves had to sing to get themselves through the day. Okay, a lot of times their plight was such that they were. Have you ever heard the term "can't see to can't see"? A lot of times, they would be made to work from so early in the morning that you can't see to so late at night that you can't see. So they had to work from can't see to can't see. No break, no, there was no unions, there were no any of that. And a lot of times with no food, they had to eat what they grew or what was left over after things. So the situation was very dire, to say the least. And so they needed some sort of coping mechanism to get themselves through that type of situation. That's for centuries. I mean, we know all of the history, or we should know all of the history of the antebellum period in United States history. But a lot of our musical traditions grew out of that period in history, because nothing was really, how can I put it? Nothing was really worse in the mentality of the people who were enslaved than their daily circumstance, their lives. And so a lot of them really had a general feeling that they couldn't wait to get to the afterlife, because things would be better in the afterlife. So, and they really saw their faith dictated to them that they believed, that this very strong belief system that all the work and toil and trouble and strife that they went through here on earth was building up credit in the afterlife, so that they would have a better afterlife. So the harder it was here, the easier it would be there. And if you look at the lyrical content of some of these work songs, you hear that. American Spirituals is another. From the work songs, you got the spirituals, and then from the spirituals, you got gospel. Then from gospel, you got blues. Then from blues, you see the lineage as it goes up. So you take a lyric, for example, like, when you hear me moaning, I'm building me a home. When you hear me praying, I'm building me a home. This earthly house is going to soon decay, and my soul gotta have somewhere to stay. You see? That's the overall feeling that, okay, yes, I'm having pain, trouble here, but this body doesn't even matter, because that's not really me. I'm a spiritual being, and so I'm building up equity in the spiritual realm. So that's the work songs, and then a lot of times it was rhythmically based. Okay, participation time. How many people can take their left hand, raise it up? Volunteers, yes, yes. Okay, put it on top of your head. Yeah, I know, I'm going to get some, no, I don't want to mess up my hair. Okay, okay, can you, you know how you pat on your head, right? And you take the other hand and rub your stomach? Okay, pretty good. I see some people doing this. That's not right. Only bald people in the room can do this. Okay. Oh, so you can do that, right? That takes coordination. Can you switch? Uh-oh. I don't want, okay, nobody hurt themselves here. Oh, my little thing came off. Where'd it go? Oh, okay. I'll get it later. Let's go. Oh, so you can switch? And then rub and pat? Okay. We have some ringers in here. Okay. So now, let me try another one. Put your hands like this, with a fist. With your right hand, which is on this side, right? That's actually you. I want you to make a circle forward, away from your body, and come back. And always meet your fist back up top. Down and back, right? Okay, cool. So now, with your left hand, I want you to make a circle backwards and come back. Okay? You can do that. It's pretty easy, right? Same time. like this. You can't. Oh man. Now watch this one. Over at they can do that over at mobile. Well, they're like, get out right now. No, all of those skills take obviously hand-eye coordination and all of that, but it's really rooted and based in rhythm. Okay. Now another one. Let's bring it more close to a musical example. Take your left hand, and we're going to just pat on your lap. Okay? That's a good tempo, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's a nice vibe to it. Okay. With your right hand, because this is 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we're going to take. So we're basically dividing this. 1, 2. You're splitting that in half, right? Now with your other hand, I want you to divide this into 3. Okay? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You can't? Oh, what is going on? Okay. Like so. Because some people are like, that's not possible. They can't even do that. Left hand, 1. Okay. And I'll put my foot in there too, since I'm the professional in the room. Okay, so this is the time, okay? Boom, boom, boom. Okay? So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I'll keep this going nice and high so you'll see that I'm not gonna stop. Okay? With this hand, see, I can even do this and talk still, that's challenging enough, trust me. Okay, so that's going like this. Now I'm going to take this hand, and I'll divide this into 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. That didn't stop. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Anybody who can do that will get a free CD from me right now.
I think I can do it.
You can do it? Come on up. Wait, let me get you. Wait a second. And what's your name?
Kyle.
Kyle. Everybody, give Kyle a round of applause. Okay. Now I'm gonna. See, my chair has wheels. I can slide my chair. Okay. So, and I'll slow it down for you. Okay. So boom, 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 and then divide. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, you ready? Want to jump on in? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2.
Wait, let me just kind of do it to my own kind of groove. Okay.
Okay. But thank you for trying anyway. Now, I will say that is an extremely difficult thing to do, but it shows there's a lot of musical. I know you guys are going to be trying that, 3:30 and your boss will come by, can you please get back to work, forget the hand thing, we use rhythm a lot in what we do, in non-musical ways as well. But jazz and blues really has influences even outside of the musical realm. Now, what do I mean?